Good morning, folks. It's the 20th of January 2018. Welcome. You are the people that make the difference. It's your prayers that are changing the world. Don't ever think you are not needed, especially you VA disabled folks who are told that you're disabled and you should just kill yourself. Don't do that. It's your prayers that make the difference. I have that little booklet that the VA sent out that says if you're a burden to your family, it's okay to kill yourself. Don't even read that. You are very important to God and you're very important to us in changing this planet. Okay, so there's a government shutdown that started last night. Chucky Schumer walked out. He managed to pay off 4 Republicans, and there was a vote 50-49 to shut down the government. They would not shut up. They filibustered in the Senate until they finally took a vote. 4 Republicans crossed the aisle, and we now have a government shutdown. What does that mean? Out of 23.6 million government employees, city, county, state, and federal, 850,000 will be furloughed. So what does that mean to you and me?
3%.
3%. 3%. It's not even a drop in the bucket. Things like the Federal Health Agency that go out and shut down spelt bread factories. And they go out and they shut down restaurants. They're closed. The National Institute of Health can't find any more guinea pigs for the next week. The CDC has to stop its surveillance programs. They're primarily Navy doctors. They don't shut down. They just don't have to do any work this week. The IRS can't verify Social Security numbers. Why? I don't know. The IRS is a private corporation. Social Security is a private corporation. They're not affected in the funding, but they can't verify Social Security numbers. Go figure. Unbelievable, stupid stuff. You know, you can't get a visa over the next 2 weeks. Even though the people who issue visas are still on staff, they're just not going to issue any visas because the government's shut down. So they go to work, they don't have to work. So what does that mean to you and I? Absolutely nothing. For 9 years now, under the Obama administration, the idea under the Cloward-Pivens model is not to pass a federal budget, but just these little continuing resolutions so they can fund all their little pet projects, like giving money to the Ford Foundation, so they can give it to all the George Soros non-government organizations to shut this government down. It's the Cloward-Pivens model. But what it really has done is it's really impacted the military because they can't come up with a decent budget. So right now, as we sit, 75% of the naval F-18 planes are grounded. Almost 2/3 of the Air Force airplanes and helicopters are grounded. Many of the Army helicopters are grounded because they can't buy extra parts. They need parts, and they need to repair the jets. Well, they can't repair the jets. Why? Because during a continuing resolution, Congress funded Monsanto to make GMO foods to make high school kids fat. So only 1 out of 4 high school kids qualify for the military because of literally the stupid teachers. There's a lot of teachers who are hired not because they're intelligent and because the GMO foods have made them fat. So a kid walks in, and I've read a lot of the stuff written by these teachers, and I'm telling you what, a lot of them can't even write a sentence anymore. I don't know what it is, but we need to go back to private schools. 75% of the naval F-18s can't fly. 53% of all Air Force aircraft are unable to fly. That's 1,700 aircraft. They can't even... You need a budget to be able to order the parts. You need to stop funding Monsanto so the high school kids aren't so fat so they can join the military. And why would they join the military anyway? The new resolution in NATO is as the U.S. is funding ISIS, we all know that Obama set up its funding source and Trump is trying to cut it off. As the CIA funds ISIS, the Naval and Air Force aircraft have to come in and protect the Turkish airplanes because of the NATO treaty to bomb ISIS. So the U.S. is funding ISIS and bombing ISIS. ISIS is now the Kurds, of course, or Al-Qaeda. Unbelievable garbage that the CIA is doing in the military. And it all stems from people like Chucky Schumer, who are about to go, I believe, to jail. We have a cat who wants to be part of the intelligence briefing. That's okay. That's okay. Unbelievable garbage. And as for this fake FISA letter, it's a fake FISA letter. It's everybody focus on here while we're working over here. Many of the Democrats are now guilty and have been found guilty of child rape, and they're going to be arrested. So Chucky Schumer is making his last stand in the Senate to try and avoid being arrested because all he has to say is, we're not going to vote for a budget so you can't arrest us. Well, the two don't go together. So President Trump has said, all right, I will stand here in the White House, Chucky Schumer, till you pass a budget. A lot of the Republicans went home last night. They said, you know what? I'm going back to my district. I'm leaving for the weekend. These Democrats are insane. So many of the Republicans just went home. They said, you know what? Let the government shut down. It's 850,000 people out of 23,656,000 government employees, and 850,000 of them are going home for this because the Chucky Schumer refuses to cooperate and pass a bill. Unbelievable. So while you're focused on this, investigations against these child rapists continue. This FISA letter's a fake letter. They made it up, but it'll appear. Everybody will say, look, here's the FISA letter, here's the FISA letter. What it is an indication of who's about to be arrested. And the list is huge. There's probably in the order of 100 people who work for Obama that are going to be arrested for child rape and treason. Anyway, Jane, do you have any questions? Do you think you're really going to be impacted now that the National Institute of Health can't find any more guinea pigs for the next week?
I think they ought to cancel everything anyway.
Yeah, just lay these 850,000 people off.
Yeah.
Nobody in the IRS is going home.
No.
Nobody in Social Security is going home. Nobody in
It's a
the VA
joke.
is going home.
It's a joke.
Nobody in the military is going home. What it did do, though, is it did cancel the military from getting paid for moving. Because the idiot Democrats won't pass. They passed the National Defense Authorization Act, but they didn't pass the second half. So they got $600 billion over here. They need another $300 or $400 billion to keep. Our military requires almost $1 trillion a year. Plus, that doesn't include the extra money they just sort of add on to the computer. So this is all a game at the top. They'll try to make it as miserable to you, but you know what? The fact that they don't have any health inspectors shutting down spelt bread production factories, that's not a bad thing, is it?
Mm-mm.
I mean, spelt is the non-GMO wheat. The fact that they're not going to give Monsanto any more money to make, I mean, they made this wheat in Australia that creates Ebola in kangaroos when a certain frequency hits it. But everybody else that eats the wheat is just getting the flu. This Australian flu that's being spread is the frequency-activated Ebola. So that virus is now spreading throughout the world. So they want to vaccinate everybody against this new Ebola they created in Australia. They want to vaccinate you, which doesn't do anything, so that they can make more profits to send to the Department of Health director in Iraq so he can fund ISIS. It's all a game. Pray for President Trump's safety and pray that he's able to shut down these treasonous congressmen and the judges, by the way. They don't even lose a dime. Most of the government agencies, federal government agencies, aren't affected. Only 850,000 out of 23 point. You know, if they laid all those 850,000 people off, and for every government job, you take 6 jobs out of the private sector. So if they laid these 850,000 people off, we'd have, what, 5 million more private sector jobs, Jane?
Probably.
And if they laid all those 23 million people off, we'd end up with 125 million private sector jobs. We could use mercenaries to fight our wars overseas.
We already are.
Oh, yeah, but...
More mercenaries.
Yeah, Halliburton and all.
Yeah.
You want to get $300,000 a year tax-free? Become a mercenary for Halliburton. Anyway, God bless. Thank you for coming. You are the best audience. The news media will be all enraged about the government shutdown, and somehow they're going to try to make it President Trump's fault that Chucky Schumer led the call to shut down the budget. Somehow the media is going to twist this and turn it and say it's Trump and Pence's fault, when in fact Chucky Schumer walked out of there with a big old smile on his face like, ha ha ha, guess what? King of Kings and Lord of Lords is going to make it.
It was a Nina Boo Boo.
Ninu Boo Boo?
Yeah. Nanny Boo Boo.
Nanny Boo Boo. God's going to turn that nanny Boo Boo and ruin your life and the life of every Democrat that voted to shut down the government. Because there's 850,000 people that need that money for their families. And God's going to turn that around on you Democrats and you 4 rat-think Republicans and rip you and your families a new rear end. So he said it, so it shall be. You will be utterly, well, I can't say destroyed. Your entire life will be turned upside down because of your stupidity and your treasonous acts. Anyway, God bless to each and every one of you. It's funny, Trump's just sitting back saying, give me a bill. Give me a bill. That's Chucky Schumer smiling. I'm not going to give you a bill. I'm going to let everybody go home and get laid off. Lose their funding. They won't be able to pay rent. I'm Chucky Schumer. I can do that. I can take 850,000 people, take away their money so they can't pay rent. So anyway, that's okay. The time for payback has come. So God has said it, so it shall be. Thank you very much for watching. We love each and every one of you. Thank you and good night.